to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez?
Here.
Councilmember Vizcarra?
Here.
Councilmember Yu?
Vincent, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Mayor Pro Tem Mann?
Here.
Mayor Sternquist?
here. Okay, we move to item 3, our invocation, and we are pleased to have Pastor Calty here with us. He is from Community of Christ, located at 5851 Temple City Boulevard, and he gives so generously of his time and comes to these meetings frequently. So you just have a standing invitation, you know that.
What's that?
You have a standing invitation.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Is that a threat or is that a promise?
Please
No,
stand.
I'm always very happy to get here and just, if I get notice and stuff like that, and I apologize because I've got to leave to go to another meeting right after here, so I hate to do that. Let us pray. O divine Creator, we thank you that we are able to meet together this evening to conduct the business of the city of Temple City. We do so in order that we might provide direction to this community so that it might become even a better community than it already is. We know that this will not be an easy task when one considers all the problems and difficulties and the rain that we face. So we recognize that we cannot do it alone, but through your help and divine support, we can get the job done with your guidance. It is for this reason we offer this prayer to you this evening. May we, Lord, see the world around us in this community, in particular as your divine creations, and above for which we care. Therefore, let this be our prayer to you this evening, that through what we do here tonight, tomorrow, and the day after that, we may help this city become a better city than it already is, that through your direction and our work, indeed, Temple City might be a city to be worthy to be proud of. This we ask in all humility. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Okay, I see a past city council member. Carl, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we move to ceremonial matters presentation. I don't see any, but it doesn't say none, so I'm assuming we don't have any. Okay. Item 6, public comments on items not listed on the agenda. I don't have any cards. Is there anyone? Is up here? Oh, thank you, I'm sorry. Okay. We have Jing Lee with the library. Welcome, Jing.
Happy New Year,
Happy New Year.
Mayor Sternquist and Mayor Pro Tem City Council. My name is Jeannie. I'm from the Temple City Library. I'm here to update you about the library's programs. We will start our new section of Smarty Pants Story Time this Thursday, January 19 at 10:30. It opens to the kids 2 to 5 years old. And the story time lasts about 30 minutes. So the kids can enjoy books, songs, and movement while learning school readiness skills and have fun. We also start a monthly art activity for school-age children. So for January, we are going to do the Wonder of Snowflakes. And that will be held next Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m. The kids will learn about the science and the beauty of snowflakes, and also they can make their own to take home. And the last but least, thanks for Mayor Sternquist's generous donation, we were able to purchase more than 30 books related to teen mental health. Now all these books are on display in the library. So please stop by to check out our wonderful collection. And if you need more information, please visit us our website, lacountylibrary.org, or call us at 626-285-2136. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Jean, I recall when Fernando and I went to the library to read to the kids for story time. I would love to do that again and bring him with me.
Perfect. Well, we can do that maybe in March. There's like a Read Across America, like Dr. Seuss.
Okay, we'll
Maybe
have
we can
Tom
do.
come, and maybe William would like to come, and Councilmember you too.
Yeah, that would be fun. Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna plan that.
We all volunteered, right?
Yes, they all
Yeah.
volunteered.
Yeah, they're all volunteers. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Nope. All right, I'm going to close public comment. We move to item 7, the consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be approved in a single motion as recommended unless removed for further discussion. Do we have?
Motion to approve consent calendar?
Second.
Okay. Any objections? So moved. Can we have a roll call,
Thank
please?
you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Viscara?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Man?
Yes.
Mayor Sternquist?
Yes. Thank you. That passes unanimously. We move to item 8. Item 8, a public hearing. Item A, to establish the community development block grant programs and allocations for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Thank you, Mayor Sternquist, members of the council. Before you tonight is our annual adoption per HUD guidelines and LA County CDA, of which we are what's called a non-entitlement city, meaning we do not get direct funds from the federal government through HUD. We actually go through the county, as many other non-entitlement cities do as well. The program is reflective, and Mr. Gulick will go over very briefly today, similar to what you had directed last year to allocate funding towards our home improvement program and essentially our handyman program. One thing I would like to note, because this is a requirement of the LACDA to address just the community block grant funding and the requirements under HUD, the council has expressed in the past more interest in funding this program because we do have a waiting list of 41. If I do hear kind of the desire of the council, we would bring back in a future meeting additional funding from ARPA to provide additional funding to lower that waiting list. Now, that's obviously at your discretion about how quickly you want to lower that or how much funding you would want to lower that to, that waiting list to, but that's something we would come back with at a future meeting and have to make the adjustments with Mrs. Madrano's contract as well to address the increased workload that would incur. But that is something that we would want to bring forward based on what you've expressed in the past and assuming that you pass this tonight. Otherwise, you have a very similar program that you've seen in the past of providing. The other issue, just to let you know, is at the end of this fiscal year, we will be evaluating the youth scholarship program as well, and how well that's been utilized, and come back to you and give you a report at the end of this fiscal year for this current fiscal year, not for fiscal year 23-24, but for 22-23, to let you know, because we can make adjustments below 50% of the allocation without having to go through the rigmarole of a public hearing and everything else, but to let you know where that funding has how much of that funding has been used, and how that has played out over the fiscal year, so that if you want to make some future adjustments as well, you can do that. And we haven't really done that during the end of the fiscal year, but we will institute that in the end of this coming fiscal year.
That was going to be one of my questions regarding the $45,000 allocated to the youth scholarship program. Do we know what's been used in the past years, though, don't we?
Yes.
Have we been using that amount?
No, we have
That's-
not.
Okay.
Yeah, we have not. So this is a placeholder amount to do that, but I think we would want to come back at the end of the fiscal year to see how fiscal year 22, 23 has gone, and then we can make any, and then the council can direct us with any amendments for fiscal year 23, 24.
Brian, I just have one quick question
Sure.
before we start. Historically, have we always been about 41 people on the waiting list, or did this double during COVID time, or?
That's a good
Adam?
question for the person who oversees the program.
We did a article last summer in the typical waiting list, anywhere 15, 20, 25 people. So the article that went out in the Connect magazine, we had about 25 people submit applications.
After
After
and you
that
already
went
had
out.
that, 50. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Adam.
Thank you. So the estimated allocation for next fiscal year is about 230,000, and then the unallocated funds about approximately 113,000. The allocation is based on the city's demographics. It's a formula that is done through the county, and then we receive our portion of what the county receives. And then the unallocated funds, that is the funds that are not used from previous fiscal years, or also it includes loans that are paid back to the city from previous home improvement loans. So with the budget that we typically have, we assist approximately 6 households per year. And as we stated previously, there is 41 people on the waiting list at this time. The asbestos-lead base paint testing and removal program, those accomplishments are based on the work that is being performed under the loan and grant program. The youth scholarship program, city is allowed to allocate up to 20% of the annual allocation. Previously, it would assist approximately 80 scholarships per fiscal year. Another caveat, I guess, in the past couple years, we've had the impacts to the pandemic, so some of the numbers in the recent years might not accurately reflect moving forward with the program. So with the recommended budget that we have tonight, $250,000, which is approximately 73% of the total funding, the asbestos lead testing and removal program, approximately 14%, and then the youth scholarship, 13% for the overall budget. And staff's recommending that the council open the public hearing, also authorizing the city manager to amend the CDBG funded programs and allocations up to 50%, adopt the resolution with the programs and allocations, and then also find that this action is exempt from CEQA per section 15301D.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Do we have any questions from council members? Tom?
Adam, of the 41 who are on the waiting list, don't each of these applicants have to go through like a qualification by our staff or whatever, right? Have they gone through that already, or are they waiting for that as well?
They are waiting for that. So
So we don't know of these 41 if all of them are even eligible at this point.
correct. There are timing restrictions on the paperwork that we use to qualify the individuals or the households. So we try not to reach out to them
Yeah,
too
if you
early.
do it too soon, then it doesn't do us any good.
Right. So the form that they fill out is just kind of basic information on estimated household income, number of people in the household, that sort of information.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Yu?
Well, my question is, for 41 applicants, if we only do 6 a year, does that mean that it's gonna take maybe 6, 7, 8 years to clear the backlog?
That's a good question, Councilmember Yu, and what we would do coming back to you is, especially if we do the additional allocation of funding, we would ask probably to address Mrs. Medrano's contract for some additional help for her to actually have, so she has additional people power to push through those applications as well. So rates would stay the same. We would keep the same negotiated rates, but she's a sole proprietor, so we would want to make sure we're vetting with her who she's using because she's trusted with LACDA, HUD, and everybody else. We've gone through multiple audits with her, but we would essentially ramp up some services with her to meet that goal.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
I think the good news is that we know this program is working.
Without a doubt, we know the program is working. We know the desire is there. I think the other thing for the council to consider is that what in our housing element, the concept of aging in place is something that's really important, and this is one of those programs that truly helps those who want to age in place in our community. This is a tool that helps them as a hand up to do that.
Okay. All right. If there's no other questions, then I'm going to open up public hearing. Anyone? Okay, close public hearing. Any final comments from council members on this? Nope.
No comments.
Okay, can we have a council motion?
Mayor Sternquist, I would make a motion that we authorize the city manager to, let me take that back, that we hold a public hearing, which we just did, regarding the proposed allocation of the CDBG funds for fiscal year 23-24, and that we authorize the city manager to amend the CDBG funded program allocations up to 50% of the approved allocation as necessary throughout the fiscal year, and that we adopt Resolution 23-5649, establishing the CDBG funded programs and allocations below, and that the total CDBG budget for that fiscal year includes the estimated allocation of $230,079 and unallocated prior year's funds of $112,768 for a total of $342,847. And that we also find that approval of the CDBG funds allocation is exempt from review under CEQA.
That was a long motion.
Second.
Okay, any objections? May we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Viscara,
Yes.
Councilmember Yu,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mann,
Yes.
Mayor Sternquist.
Yes. Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you, Adam. We move to item 9, unfinished business. Item A, permanent local housing allocation, residential accessibility modifications, program guidelines.
Mayor
And
Stern,
Adam,
if you mind if I, sorry. Thank you, Mayor Sternquist. Just a brief introduction. Just as a reminder, this funding is separate from the CDBG programming or everything else, but similar in vein of trying to assist those either aging in place or otherwise having disability issues to pay for those. When we went through a pretty lengthy discussion 2 council meetings ago, we took your direction, implemented those in the guidelines. One thing I will note is that on slide 5 that you'll see about the application process in the January 31st cutoff date, that is not for this year. We still have to go to LACDA, have them review these guidelines, approve these guidelines, and then we will advertise, go out. We will have enough lengthy amount of time for applications to be submitted. I think we're going to probably have to do a lot of soliciting of that, similar to as we did on the CARES Act, but we'll see what kind of response. I mean, unlike the CDBG program, which has been long established, put as Mr. Gulick stated when we advertised it, the demand increased beyond our capacity. This, we still don't know how deep that capacity lies within the community. So that's why when you see the cutoff date of the 31st, that's once the program is fully up and functioning next year, and after we get LACDA's approval. So Mayor Sternquist, if it's okay with that, I'll turn it over for a brief introduction from Mr. Gulick and any of your questions.
Thank you. Just a kind of quick recap, the PLHA program, there's two main components that are required through the state, which is to assist lower income households and also for the accessibility improvements. We got feedback from the city council at the last meeting regarding prioritizing candidates, eligible improvements, and then the grant amount, which the council directed to reduce the funds or the amount. This is the prioritizing candidates to increase the points that are given to the owners or occupants of the household that have a disability. And also modifying the first year cutoff dates. Those would be our year, or for the dates moving forward, but the first year, as Mr. Cook specified, will be modified slightly. We got feedback from the city's housing consultant regarding prioritizing the eligible improvements. So rather than the property owners being able to select a kitchen modification, that they would first prioritize any issues regarding getting from the driveway to the main entrance of the house and then into the house, whether it's handrails or widening doorways. And then the next level would be focusing on bathroom improvements. And the last would be the kitchen modifications. And then the third item was the grant amount. Staff had recommended a $40,000 amount, and City Council requested to reduce that amount to assist more households. So that has been changed and modified in the guidelines.
Adam, real quick.
Yes.
In the report you state that it's 25,000 with city manager allowing exceptions. What is the discretion there, and what are we talking about?
Sometimes, like the housing rehab program, they'll be in the middle of improvements, and then something comes up, whether it's dry rot or other issues like that, then we would need to increase the amount for the
So rather than lose a whole job, we can maybe add a few thousand to rectify that unknown problem.
Right.
Within the scope of what has been approved. So like if it's a bathroom modification and all the fans are having all these other issues, or ramping issues, that there was some soil issues that they weren't aware of, in order to complete that project, they have to do those other things. Those would be, and then we as we do with any of these programs, if there's any of those modifications, I'll make sure to report back to the council, these are the adjustments that we made in order to complete that project, so that person could have that ramp or project, whatever project they working on, but within the scope of the general scope of that project. Nothing, not a new add-on, for lack of a better term.
I understand, but from a monetary standpoint, is there a check and balance there, or is it? Because I know that our concern last time was we wanted to get this as to many people as we possibly can. I wouldn't want to defeat that purpose by giving, and this is no knock on you, but giving you the discretion to say, well, rather than 25, we'll give you 50.
I think it wouldn't hurt for the council to give me the kind of authority within a percentage range, maybe.
Well, I don't know that we need, I'm just bringing that up, maybe that might be a good thing. I trust your discretion, I don't think that you would do that, but just for transparency, I think it would be nice to have some type of ceiling.
We could get some feedback from
Scott's
LACDA.
up at the-
Oh, sorry, go ahead,
Yeah, I
Scott.
was just going to say, sometimes with contracts, we allow for a contingency of around
Right.
10 to 20%.
Okay,
We could
yeah.
put in the guidelines, the city manager generally would approve things up to 20%. And then we can also describe.
20% of the contract.
Yeah, we could describe what are the situations, that it's related to the original scope of work. It was work that was unknown that would be needed. We can describe that in the guidelines.
I think that would be a good idea. So, I don't know
We'll make a
how
note
the
of that.
council members feel about that. I don't mind you signing the checks, but
Okay. And with that, Staff's recommending that the council adopt Resolution 23-5648, approving the Residential Accessibility Modification Program guidelines and finding that the guidelines are exempt from CEQA per section 15061, subsection B, subsection 3.
Do we have any questions besides those? Amanda? Vincent, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I could ask one question. Regarding the priorities, levels 1, 2, and 3 for the types of improvements that would be made, in the report, it says the consultant would develop this list. Now, in practice, does that mean that, I guess for example, if they went in and identified a lot of level 1 modifications, and it reaches like a certain dollar amount, but it's still not at the maximum that was granted, in practice, does that mean they could then move down to level 2 modifications if they do exist? I'm just trying to understand how that level 1, 2, and 3 would, in practice, be applied, and just so anyone who may be interested knows that that's what that actually means.
Yeah, I think the thought is that the consultant would go out and kind of assess the existing conditions for the house, and if they see that that maybe they don't need a ramp, there's already an existing ramp, but then there's some other items going down through that list, and if all those are addressed, then they can move on to the next level and
Okay.
select from there, or to have the option to.
So the levels aren't based, okay, so we have the eligibility criteria, which would be the first step in the process based on the point system. Then after that's cleared, then the levels 1, 2, and 3 of different types of modifications is then considered on a case-by-case basis.
Correct.
Okay.
Rather than just leaving it up to the property owners saying, I think that was a concern last time from the
Yeah.
council, was that we don't just want them saying, I want this grant to redo my kitchen.
Right,
That
exactly.
it focuses on actual accessibility
Okay.
modification.
Great, thank you.
Okay. No other questions? Then I'm going to open public comment. Do we have anyone from the public? Close public comment. Any final comments? Okay, can we get a motion?
Mayor, I would like to propose a motion that we adopt the attached resolution number 23-5648, approving the guidelines for the permanent local housing allocation program with the additional language added regarding our discussion on the maximum grant amount and city manager allowing exceptions as discussed. I think we talked about a 20% ceiling on that. Okay, so that, and then I would also make a motion that we find that the adoption of the city's PLHA program guidelines are exempt from review under the California Environmental Quality Act per section 15061B3.
I'll second.
Okay, any objections? Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Viscara?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Man?
Yes.
Mayor Sternquist?
Yes. Okay, that passes unanimously. We move to item 10, new business. Item A, public art proposal for Gold Award project. City Council is requested to consider the proposal for public art along the Rosemead Boulevard corridor. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor Sternquist and members of the council. As Mr. Matsumoto gets ready, we do have a proposal from a member of our community related to their badge award and with art along Rosemead Boulevard. So Mr. Matsumoto will start that up in just a moment.
Good evening, Mayor Sternquist, members of the City Council. Tonight we have a presentation for a public art proposal. The public art proposal is for artwork along the Rosemead Boulevard corridor. And this proposal was presented to the city by Ms. Ashley Keelan. Ms. Keelan had reached out to the city regarding a Girl Scout Go to Word project. And the scope of that project encompassed adding artwork to the existing directory monuments along Rosemead Boulevard. Currently, there's 6 of those tile mosaics that were completed in 2015. The artwork would be going on the opposite side of the existing mosaic tiles. And the project has a messaging branding along with the artwork as well, which is uplift and inspire. Ms. Keelan's goal was to create this positive messaging, and it really stemmed from having to navigate the pandemic and all the trials and challenges associated with the pandemic. Ms. Keelan made a presentation to the Parks and Recreation Commission in November, which had the first initial review of this public art project. Upon some discussion and clarification on a couple of items, the Parks and Recreation Commission did move to recommend approval of this project to the City Council, which we'll take a look at this evening. You can move to the second slide, thank you. So those 5 proposed locations are along the Rosemead Boulevard corridor. One is at Rosemead and Pentland. The second would be at Rosemead and Broadway. There's 2 at the intersection of Rosemead and Las Tunas. And then finally, the northernmost art piece would be at Rosemead and Cayita. So as part of the presentation, this was included in the staff report. These are the 5 designs that are being proposed for each one of the locations along Rosemead. So as you can see, along with the artwork, there is that positive messaging that's also part of the project as well. Next, we'll take a look at where those are located and give some of the background as to why that artwork was chosen. So this is location 1 at Pentland. This is the existing artwork, and you can see the blank back side of it. Next slide. So this first artwork with the messaging, Spread Your Wings, incorporates some things that are, that pertain to the community in Temple City. So obviously we have our local green parrots that was emphasized within this artwork, as well as the citrus that's known to be historic as part of the San Gabriel Valley community. Next, we have at the corner of Rosemead and Broadway, the existing artwork. And the proposed artwork has a Khoi-inspired yin and yang messaging of creating balance. There's some levity with the artwork. One of the restaurants that are located right next to it is a fish restaurant, so there's some play with some of the local businesses there as well. The next location, one of the 2 at Rosemead and Las Tunas. The artwork, next slide. Is Unique and United. So this is opposite the Temple City Park Performing Arts Pavilion. So that artwork was created and inspired with the summer concert series that we host at Temple City Park. This next 4th artwork, also located at Rosemead and Las Tunas, has the messaging of radiate and positivity. The flowers that you see within the artwork are, of course, our camellia flower, our Temple City flower that's included as part of that. And then finally, the 5th location at Cayita. The proposed artwork harkens to youth and the importance of cherishing the moment and not letting those days slip away from us. One of the things that Ms. Keelan is doing some additional investigation and research on is they are Converse shoes that are listed in the
Chuck
artwork.
Taylors.
They're Chucks. Something
I'm
we're all
sure Ashley
familiar
doesn't
with.
even know what those are. No? She's
Actually
too young.
does,
She's
yes,
too young.
yes.
We all, it's funny how they come back into style again.
Like a lot of fashions,
Yes.
it seems like these days. Ms. Keeling is doing some investigative research on copyrights, the use of that. So that is something that she was very aware of and wanted to make sure if we're not able to use that as an image, Ms. Keeling did say that she could alter that to a more generic shoe, so as not to infringe on any potential copyright issues if they should exist. But that's something that she is following up with.
I have a question. The ball as a Lancer reprinted, does that have any significance?
Yes, I'm looking into that too. Another idea I had was actually to put TC Rams on it instead of the high school.
The local high school.
Yeah.
Lancers, PCC?
I don't know what is the Lancer for? Is that,
Ms. Keelan, if you,
Oh, I'm
if you,
sorry.
if you don't mind coming up to the, thank you so much.
yeah, we should have her up here anyway, and listen to her instead of Adam.
She would definitely provide that messaging a lot better.
Yes, so Lancer is, I believe, a brand of baseball, but it is not intended to stay there. I do
Yeah,
want
okay.
to change it, hopefully, to the, yes, the either TC Rams or if there's another, yeah, I'm looking into that, but
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Thank you.
anything else?
I have a question, if I may, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Ms. Keelan, I mean, these illustrations are wonderful. They're very, very professionally done. And it really complement the artwork on the other side. I just have a question for you, because these look like watercolors. So if you were to alter the shoes or the baseball, are you gonna redo another one?
No, I wouldn't redo the whole thing. It would just be slight alterations. So again, these are all digital designs. They are not on paper. So they're used with a program.
Hold me.
Yeah, so
Both
they're all
me.
digital, which makes the resolution a lot easier to print and a lot clearer to be put up on a big sign. So it shouldn't be too difficult, but I would definitely love to leave the logo if possible. But I am still looking into it.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question. Very nice.
Thank you.
I'm impressed.
If we can, yes, thank you. So just a couple of more points regarding the proposal. So more technical information. The artwork will be printed on aluminum paneling. That paneling is going to be, I'll have a laminate overlay which does one of two things. One would be to block UV light, so it should really minimize or decrease any type of fading that would occur being out exposed in the sun, as well as having some anti-graffiti properties too, so it would make it easier in the event that there might be some graffiti on it and it would be scratch resistant. The dimensions are roughly 4 feet tall by a little over 2 feet wide, and that fits within that recessed portion of the existing directories. The mounting, and this was discussed at the commission meeting, will be a blind mount technique. And the reason why it's recommended to do a blind mount technique is that it involves utilizing adhesive. So there won't be any mechanical drilling into the directory, which might impact negatively the artwork that's on the opposite side of it. So we feel that this is the least invasive way to do the installation. Ms. Keelan did a wonderful job of contacting a couple of different sign companies to price out the project, and we as a city also met with the vendor that, if approved, we would be working with. But roughly the cost of the project would be just under $2,300. From start to finish, it's relatively quick. We're looking at a 4 to 5 week turnaround time, but that would be contingent upon potentially having to address any copyright issues or any adjustments on the artwork, but relatively a quick turnaround time for that. There is one additional item I wanted to bring to the attention of the council, which we didn't think about until this week, but with a lot of the artwork that we've already done as public artwork, we've included descriptions like a plaque with that artwork, which we haven't included as part of this project. I just wanted to bring that to the council's attention in case that is something that we would like to add on, and then we can explore that as either maybe an item we can bring back, or maybe allocate a portion of additional money to have a plaque with that inspiration behind the design mounted with each one of those 5 proposed artworks. So, that's something for the council to maybe discuss as well, or we can bring that back later and have more refined descriptions of what would go up there, and then more accurate costs if that would allow us time to go back and actually get estimates for that as an add-on. So that would conclude my presentation. Again, Ms. Keelan is here to answer any art-specific or project-specific questions as well. Thank you.
All right. I am going to see if we have any questions from Tom.
I think, Adam, that last point you made, I think is a great idea, is it's one of the things that I was thinking about in looking at this, because in looking at the front side of these, we do have that little plaque kind of telling the public what it's about. And also, to add to that, I don't know if it's on the plaque or not, but I remember something on some of these tile features, there was an acknowledgement of the artist as well. I think that should be included somewhere on the plaque as well, if we go that direction.
Definitely, if that's the desire of the
I mean,
the
a lot of
council.
work and thought went into this, and certainly we want to give Ashley and anybody else who deserves that credit, I believe. It's kind of nice to see her name up on things in the city, so. So I think that's a great idea, and have you got any ideas about what that would cost to add that component to this at this time?
We haven't, but if we're utilizing the same medium of the aluminum paneling with the overlays, I would imagine it's not going to be more than maybe in the $1,000 range, but most likely less than that. Because it would be much smaller than the large artwork pieces themselves. So, in the scope of the Art in Public Places funding source, it would be probably a minimal additional investment to do that.
Yeah, and I know you had suggested, well, perhaps we could bring that back, but, I mean, I would propose that, based on what you've discussed, that we allocate a certain amount of money for that tonight as well, so we can get it all done at once, since I think we have the power to do that, so. And then the last question, what's the lifespan on these things?
So the laminate is really looking to determine the longevity of it. What the company had noted to us, which is helpful in terms of having a longer lifespan on it, is that it's within a recessed portion of the existing directory. So it provides a lot of shelter from the elements in and of itself by words being installed. But in terms of like a timeline, maybe in the 10 to 15 year range, you might get some
longer
fading
than I
on it.
thought.
The laminate is really what comes into play with having it, having that extended longevity as part of that artwork. Now, if it didn't have the laminate, we might get a year or two out of it.
No,
But
I think
that's
the longer the better. It's
that's the
whatever way
key
we can do to
portion. Yes.
preserve it. Because I think once it's up, it's up. They got the plaque there. It's something that I think should be part of the whole culture of the city.
And we'll have the digital files and artwork. So let's say if individually one of them gets vandalized beyond repair, that's something we can always come back to the council and allocate some additional funding for replacements or maybe touching up of it if needed.
I
if
can't
it's
remember,
possible.
we haven't had any vandalism situations with the tiles so far, have we?
We did on one of the brass pieces,
Did we?
the running guy over by the coffee place.
That was, yeah, that we did have that several years ago, but not on the tiles, nothing that that we're aware of.
Well, I believe there's some graffiti on one of the, not on the artwork itself, it's above it. It's, if you look at location number 4 picture.
We're usually gonna put graffiti where you can read it, and it's kind of hard to read on the artwork itself. perhaps. So
Yeah.
maybe that's a good thing.
And then another thing is, as far as graffiti goes, when I was meeting with the sign company, he did take a can of spray paint right to the board and demonstrated that it can be removed with, they have some spray that they spray on it, take a cloth, and it's easily wiped away. So if it's beyond repair, then it might need replacement, but as far as just regular spray paint, the UV laminate covers that.
Don't we have a graffiti removal company on board anyway? Yeah, okay. That's all the questions I have, thank you.
I've been on board since the day she started.
Sure. I guess regarding the, I'm trying to imagine the aluminum plating. Is it reflective to light?
It's matte, so it shouldn't be reflective. It's on an actual aluminum piece, but they print something on top of it, so it won't be shiny or reflective or anything
Okay.
like that.
All right. I'm just
Driving down
wondering.
the road, all of a sudden.
Yeah, I didn't think
Right.
it would be, considering we have signs everywhere that
Yeah.
doesn't have that issue.
Yes.
Okay, great. And for whatever reason, maybe Brian, when we talked, and now I can't find it in the staff report. For a moment, I thought this was temporary, but from what I'm hearing, this is a permanent installation.
Yeah, I mean, it's temporary in the sense of, like in comparison to the tiles, but.
Oh, you're talking about the lifetime of the material.
Yeah,
Okay.
lifetime of the material.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So, that's all the questions I have for now. Thank you.
Councilmember Yu?
I have comments, not as much questions. Do you want me to wait after?
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Ms. Keelan. I mean, wonderful work, and I mean, it's been a long time since we did something to the backside of these art monuments. So I am very grateful that you have brought this to us, and it's wonderfully done. And actually, to Councilmember Chavez's point, I was wondering when I was looking at these artworks, I was thinking to myself, where is your signature? I was looking for them and I couldn't find them.
Yes, funny you should bring that up. Yesterday I was just creating my professional art signature, so by the time I do get them printed, I plan on definitely working that in, not so it affects the design, but so I can incorporate it in there for sure.
All right, yeah, and I also agree that we should have some kind of explanation, especially from you, as to how this is inspired. And again, I like to say that I really enjoy the interplay between your art piece and the mosaic art on the other side.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open public comment. Anyone? Close public comment. Oh, Carl, I'm sorry.
Following up on Carl Bloom, resident. Following up on Vince's comment, it's been a long time since we built these things, and the intent originally was to do something on that backside. It never happened. I'm proud of Ashley coming forward and saying, that she had that in her skills. I'm totally impressed with her skills. The other side comment I have, it took 3 generations of us to do this. I was involved with Rosemead Boulevard. As you know, our daughter Kathy Keelan was on the art committee that ended up doing the tile murals. Now my granddaughter is doing the other side, so I couldn't be prouder of our imprint on the city. So I encourage you to approve this.
So what's that saying, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree?
No, it's saying it takes a long time to do public projects.
Yeah, I know, you and Vince started this, 12 years ago, Vince, I think, something like that? Yeah, better late than never.
Okay, anyone else? All right, close public comment. Any final comments from council members?
Yeah, Mayor, if I can say, well, first of all, I appreciate Ms. Keelan you for coming up with this idea. Just like Carl mentioned earlier, it's been blank for a while. So that was kind of one of the questions I've always wondered was, what are we really going to do with that blank space? And certainly what's being shown in the presentation looks way better than what it is now. So I am completely devoid of this type of artistic talent myself, so I always try to appreciate it whenever it does come up. One of the thoughts that initially was going through my head, just from this is not specific to you, Ms. Keelan, but just sort of initially I thought perhaps as a city we would have maybe looked at the process of adding an art piece kind of in a similar way that we would do perhaps other things where you kind of open it up to everyone and there'd be kind of like some kind of vetting process and so on and so forth. But really, the more I think about it is, okay, well, even if you did that, how many actual responses would you have gotten? And I'm also thinking of sort of the history of how we've arrived at this point, and the fact that we have the monies within the Public Arts Fund really stem from the fact that we even considered installing public art in the first place. So I guess the more I think about it, the more I can see this is definitely a worthy option for us to consider, and for someone who has a family that has contributed so much to Temple City in general, I'm pretty sure there's a great amount of pride and that everyone here is feeling for this moment. And so I really applaud you for having the courage and the creativity to come to us, because I'm just thinking when I was your age, I probably would never have even thought of something like this. So I'm always impressed by.
I did have inspiration from a couple people. So yes,
well,
for sure.
it's certainly, but also you yourself have to be willing to to do that yourself. I mean,
For sure.
inspiration only takes you so far, but the rest you got to have your own initiative and effort and work to really kind of make that come through. So yeah, no, thank you for bringing that to us today.
You.
I just want to say, having been through Europe and other places, you see the public art that exists, and it's really a sign of civilization. I think cities like ours in particular need more of that. It says that we're a civilization that wants to look civilized and advanced.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm all for this, and I'd like to see a lot more. Thank you.
I'd just like to say, well, congratulations. I think it's a great project, and I think the Girl Scouts should be honored to have you participate and do something like this. I know why we waited so long. It's because we were waiting for you to grow up to do it. Because we've seen you since you were very small.
Yes.
But I think my only concern was, as William said, are we going to open this up and now other people, we're going to have a swarm of people coming and saying, well, I want to do this project or that project. But I don't think that's going to happen. And even if we did, it just shows that there's interest in our community. So I think it's a great project also. And like I said, we were just waiting for you to get grown up. So anyway, if we could have a council motion. Fernando?
I'm looking for it.
Here. You got it?
Okay, I've got it.
Before we make that motion, Madam
Yes.
Mayor, may I add something? I think to Councilmember Chavez's point, perhaps we should, in this motion, add to it enough funds, to approve enough funds. I was going to suggest adding another $1,000 to the approval, to the funds allocated for the artwork, so that Mr. Cook does not need to come back again for authorization.
Councilmember Chavez is suggesting we do 1,500. Are you fine with that?
Well, absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right. So can we have a motion with that included, Fernando?
Okay, first, I'll move that we approve a public art installation along Rosemead Boulevard corridor and allocate art and public places funds to cover project costs. Said funds being 15, is that what we're talking about?
An additional.
An additional $1,500. Find that the approval of the public art installation is exempt from review under the California or CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines, 15311.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any objections? May we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Viscara?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Man?
Yes.
Mayor Sternquist?
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we now move to item 11, update from our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Sternquist, and members of the council. Before your next meeting, which is Tuesday, February 7th, on Saturday the 4th, we will be having our annual Lunar New Year event, partnering with the great civic organization, the Temple City Chinese American Association. We will be bringing back many of the traditional celebrations that we've been missing over the last year or so. So more info, you have that all on your calendars, and we'll make sure you give Mr. Matsumoto will make sure that the finalized schedule is to you very soon, but look forward to having the public out there as well. Ms. Gutierrez, who's sitting in for Mr. Murphy today, will go over the reason why we are going through an additional motion related to the all of our items that is related to a lawsuit. Not that we are having to do a full-blown analysis of every single item related to CEQA, but there is a reason. Mr. Murphy did send some information about that, but for the public, Ms. Gutierrez will give a general overview of what the reason for that. And that's it for me tonight, Mayor Sternquist.
Thank you. Okay, Stephanie, our Assistant City Attorney.
No, that's okay. Thank you, Mayor. So just to give a quick overview, it's actually a result of a recent case that came down regarding a Brown Act litigation. And basically what the council didn't do is say in their motion that this specific project was exempt from CEQA, and the plaintiffs were arguing that because that was not part of their motion and it was not agendized, that it was a Brown Act violation, and the courts lent to that interpretation. So that's why you see a little more CEQA. I know that's usually more of a planning commission item, I think, for most council members, but that's just basically the reasoning behind.
Stephanie, can you tell the public who might not know what CEQA is?
Sure. So it's the California Environmental Quality Act. Basically, the whole purpose of the act is to ensure that any kind of project that we are doing as a city, we are not affecting the environment to a level that is completely significant to the environment. So, normal exceptions would include items of legislative value that the city council might consider, but courts have kind of taken that act, and there has been a lot of different aspects provided since case law has just evolved throughout the decades at this point. So this is just another evolution that it's connecting to the Brown Act as well.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, just to let you know that Greg will be back next week, and it was a pleasure.
Well, we've enjoyed having you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 13, council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings. Any? None? All right. Council items separate from the city manager's regular agenda.
Sorry, one more item. Mr.
Yes.
Arizumi just reminded me. Thank you, Mr. Arizumi, watching on TV. We do have our first neighborhood watch meeting this Thursday at 5:30, Emperor Elementary School. Open to everybody. That's not just open to the people in that area. It's open to everybody, but it's our first in person. Our last neighborhood watch meetings were online, and quite frankly, the last couple of neighborhood watch meetings, the attendance was extremely poor. So we are back in person. Tacos, beans and rice, some sodas for everybody to join us if you need dinner with you and your family that night. So Emperor Elementary School, 5:30 this Thursday.
All right, thank you, Brian. Council items separate from the city manager's regular agenda, any? Vincent?
I'm just wishing everybody a happy Lunar New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Mayor?
yes.
Just one thing Councilmember Chavez also reminded me, just so everyone's information, we do have the standing committee with the Temple City Unified School District that Councilmember Chavez and I are on. We are meeting this Thursday with those members
4 o'clock.
at 4 o'clock, so right
And
right
those-
before the neighborhood watch meeting.
They're open to anyone, right?
That is an open meeting, yeah.
Okay.
And I do want to just verify with Mr. Cook, we're also restarting our monthly law enforcement meeting with our dedicated deputies, right? And
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, we will be starting that on January 25th, I believe.
Is that in person?
Yeah, that will be in person, 7 a.m. on January 25th.
And open to
7 a.m.
anyone who would like to come.
Helps, yeah, I know that's a tough time for most folks, but before people are going to work and with the entire team schedule,
Are you feeding everybody?
we will be feeding everybody else who comes as well. If you're coming at 7 a.m., we got a breakfast burrito
Feeding.
that has your name on it. Breakfast.
Breakfast.
Oh.
Okay. Will we remember to invite the Public Safety Commission?
Yes, ma'am.
Just send them a little message, please.
Yes, please.
All right. I think that does it. So we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.